Hello and welcome to Radio Free Nintendo. It is December 18th, 2025. This is the last regular episode of Radio Free Nintendo for 2025. We will, of course, be doing our retroactive on Soul Calibur 2 actually, I think technically speaking, that episode comes out in January. So this is actually the last episode of 2025. We have completed another year of this podcast. Improbably enough.
Improbable, yes. It's been a slog, James, I gotta say. This one's been tough.
Which means I only have one more image to make for this year. I'm distraught that my creative window is closing for yet another cycle of the Earth around the sun. I almost said the sun around the Earth. Mm-hmm. I almost fucking went to
That's what it feels like when I look at those things every week. Feels like the sun is going around the Earth.
All right. Well, this week wasn't bad. All right, this week was relatively straightforward.
I actually don't think I've looked at it this week. To be fair, I don't think I've even posted it on Mastodon yet. So there's three people over there that are pissed.
Last week's was a masterpiece. I'm sorry. The How Are You Doing, Fellow Kids was a masterpiece. It just was. I spent way too long on it. I made one for this week based on the old title because I forgot we changed the title. So I was a little bummed about that. So I made a free bonus one, but it's fine. It's fine. I got one more in me for this year. And then I might do the wrap up I did a couple years ago where it's like, let's just go through all the ones I made and try to figure out what's the best through metric of people in the NWR Twitch chat voting on them. It's very scientific.
But, titles are kind of a pain to come up with anyway, so we could just use last week's title, even if it makes no sense.
Last week's title?
Yeah. And just,
sometimes reduce, reuse, recycle. We're saving the Earth by, I'm going to have to make a new image. Mm-hmm. My vacation starts in, let's say I'm going to work more than just to noon. Am I actually going to do that? Who can say? My vacation starts in about 15 hours. So I'm ready to be lazy. I'm ready for it. I love it. I love the idea of laziness, but we're going to do the laziest segment of RFN, which is email, or we don't have to come up with any of the ideas for it. We make you come up with ideas for it, and then we just get to react. It's like, it doesn't require any prep work for us. It doesn't really require us to do any kind of like extra effort. We just read your email and then we just riff on it. It's a beautiful, it makes it sound like we got a plan and we really don't. And I love that. So emails, I need you to keep giving us content for free. Content that we are not paying for, that we can put into this podcast in order to save our time and mental energies. And you do that by sending your emails to rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. That is rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. I understand children don't use the email. I also know that children should not be listening to this show, so I'm not that worried about it. But emails. Let's do some email. I'm going to read the first email because I have an idea for an email, and what is the what's the word for it? The platonic ideal of an email. And this is getting into the neighborhood. GX writes, Dear Radio Free Nintendo, popular YouTuber Ebenezer Scrooge has no joy in his channel. What was once considered video essays and interesting long play commentaries, what was once considered video essays, he wasn't considering video essays, these are considered video essays, and interesting long play commentaries has yielded to cynical rage baiting and nitpicking screeds. After one late evening, he received a mysterious text from his former streaming partner, Jacob Marley. Marley, who himself had been banned from the platform due to his toxic behavior, warned Scrooge to change his ways lest he fall into the same fate. What are the characters representing games past, games present, and games yet to come do you send to haunt Ebenezer, teaching him the true spirit of play? Rosalina, bless us all, everyone. This is way more creative than anything that we actually do on the show. We don't deserve this email, but I'll take it. So John, I'm going to ask, does this mean that Jacob Marley is now streaming on Kick? Is he like doing gambling streams on Kick right now?
Probably. I mean, I'm sure he used to stream on Beam, right?
Oh my God! Can you imagine getting banned from Twitch and going to Beam?
Or is that the ghost of video games past?
Because that never had a past. That was the ghost of video games microsecond.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. It barely had a present.
Future.
It didn't live long enough to have a past. It barely had a present and never had a future.
Yeah.
What video game characters to represent the ghosts of how do you put it? Spirit of play, past, present, and future.
Spirit of play.
The answer for all of them. The answer for all of them is Bubsy, because it's Bubsy 4D now, so he's in all time periods. So
right.
We're trying to make him feel better, not worse.
I'm not trying to make anybody feel anything. It's just how it is. He's taken over not just the 3 dimensions of space, but the 4th dimension of time as well.
So this is basically how video games were awful in the past, how they're awful in the present, and how they could be awful in the future, right?
No! How did you take that from
spirit of play. Don't you enjoy video games? I guess I shouldn't.
I'm just relating it to A Christmas Carol.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, no. The Christmas Past showed Scrooge a good Christmas, and then showed him a lesson.
Right.
Like it was meant to like make Scrooge realize that there was more important than the shit that he was focused on, and that there's joy in the world and that he should be part of it.
Right, but it was showing basically you're a dick and here's what you're missing out on. Pretty much.
Exactly. So like
for the
Ebenezer
present.
Here, Ebenezer here in YouTube is a fucking dick. He's got his hand up a puppet's ass and he's ranting about shit that's minute, or he's just making up fucking rage bait. He's taking Kotaku clickbait bullshit where they say there's no music in the desert of Metroid Prime 4. Hey, Greg, is there music in the desert of Metroid Prime 4?
We mentioned it last week. It's the 2001-esque wailing from the eerie wailing.
And just treating it as fact and making videos rage baiting on that, calling Pokemon Z to A the worst game ever made, all that bullshit. Like it's those kind of stream. It's the ones who are saying Switch 2 is doomed because it didn't outsell the PS5 with the first time the PS5's ever really been on sale. Like significantly on sale. It's like, well, yeah, of course it didn't. All that shit. So, what's I'm trying to think of what a character that if I wanted to show you, like, oh, you said you had one, Guillaume?
Yeah, I have one. Actually, it's a little bit not unlike Greg's pick because it's one character, but basically, like, what character represents better the spirit of play than someone who's accumulated like thousands of micro games at this point? So of course Wario visits this dude, but like the Wario of Spirit of Play Past, whatever, is I guess like his sheriff version. You know, like the barely like I don't know how many bits that is, but you know the Nintendo arcade game sheriff. But it's like the little sprite that they have for him and some of the game, what are they called? Fuck.
Micro games?
WarioWare games. Yeah. Anyway. And then you've got his regular self, I guess, who would be, I don't know, like kind of like cartoon Wario. And then future Wario would be, I don't know, one of his various superhero, super muscly, sprites
incarnations.
Wario Man, is it that was like his final smash at one point? I want to say it might have changed. I forget. I don't use him that much in Ultimate, but
and basically the way I see it going is that like the dude gets visited by Wario. Eventually, he gets placed the WarioWare Twisted in his hands. And then starts playing it, and like it's this big epiphany. It's like, oh shit, this rocks, and he's cured forever, I would hope. Because who wouldn't be
electrocuted.
Having fun playing WarioWare Twisted?
Twisted? Okay, yes, I can give you that. I think you'd want to like, oh, you're focused so much on bad things in gaming. I'm going to let your friend here play WarioWare Twisted while you watch, but you have WarioWare Snapped, asshole. Look what you could be focused on, but you want to focus on the bad? Here's Snap. Enjoy Snap. I want to focus on the past. Like I want to answer the past and work my way forward. And so I think if we're talking about the spirit of play, Scrooge is old. Like that's part of the thing. Scrooge is old, and by Dickens' timeline, that means he was probably 48.
Okay, so you're gonna go with one of the Fire Emblem, like this little girl's actually 10,000 years old.
No.
Oh.
No, I'm gonna actually try to answer the question. Guillaume.
Okay.
So I want to give Scrooge something that would have been a game from his childhood that he remembers fondly and is upbeat and joyous and colorful and bright, because that's sort of like the spirit of Christmas Past. You know, he's a big rotund man eating all kinds of stuff, and like he's like this is the happy times. This is what Scrooge's happiness was as a child before he became all miserly. And then I think it pivots towards the end where it's like his early adulthood, late teens, where things don't quite goes away. I can't remember. It's been a long time. But basically, like, I want to give hey, remember when you enjoyed gaming? Here, look at this. And so I think he's going to be met with, I don't want to say ghost because it's not dead, but the first time he is woken from his sleep, he's going to be woken by Kirby, who's just going to lead him around his I don't know, his ramshackle ass industrializing London, where he gets to go through and see all the people in windows and stuff. But instead, every time Kirby's going to walk up to him and go, "Hi!" and just constantly, and then maybe like weird bullshit happens because it's Kirby stuff. So like the trees will shoot giant apples at them and stuff. But it's colorful and fun. Like as they're going down the path, it'll start to transform from like soot in the air, industrializing urban center to Kirby style, colorful, happy place with all the Waddle Dees running around and shit. Is that like, hey, remember when you looked at games and it was just wonder and fun and happiness? Look at that. Isn't that so much better? Isn't that so much better? I guess depending on how old Scrooge is, because I feel like if we're talking about somebody supposed to be old, he'd have to at least be John's age, but probably older. So like then we're talking about like, okay, well, gaming
is he just old for a streamer though? If
that's true.
Kind of ends up
but that means he's my
gets you
age.
to a similar sort of place to the sort of industrial revolution life expectancy.
It's true. Well, let's say old for a streamer, so like my age or maybe even a little bit younger. So yeah, Kirby would be right in the target space. But if you wanted to make Scrooge a little bit younger, maybe 4 or 5 years younger, you could jump pretty much all the way to the GameCube, because Kirby is super fucking late. I mean, it's super fucking late. And I was pretty young when it came out. So like if you wanted to say like, well, you could say cuz Scrooge's Christmas Past is not when he's like 5. It's when he's a young man. If you wanted to go that route, you could say like Wind Waker Link is who meets him. And the city becomes not Outset Island. What's the name of the main town in that game?
Windfall.
Windfall, yeah, where all little shit kids run around.
It seems appropriate in a Scrooge scenario for it to be Windfall.
That's true. It could be like him taking around Windfall Island. They could go meet the King of Red Lions. They could talk to the fish that does your map. They could see Tingle in prison, and when he gets ready to get him out, Link grabs him by the hand and just shakes his head no, and they walk out of the room together. There's opportunity there for like, look how colorful this place is. Watch the day and night cycle go through. We can go out on the boat and sail around, and we have the quick sail because you always remember your childhood more fondly than it actually was. And so in his head, he always had the quick sail. Then go do a kind of a fun dungeon together and throw boomerangs and shit. They can go to Dragon Roost Island and listen to the music. It's like, oh man, remember when games were magical and colorful and fun and upbeat? And it was just like, I'm going to do all the fun stuff. And then there's always that twist. There's that twist at the end of the Christmas Past. And that's them just cutting to a shot of Link stabbing Ganon in the head. And they're just like, well, moving on. We're going to take you back home. Bye, everybody. And then all of a sudden, like, of course, Link hasn't said a single goddamn word the entire time. He's just made noises at Scrooge, who's very confused. But Scrooge is walking around like, oh, they get the scene when you get to see from a distance, you get to see the Hyrule frozen underwater. He gets to re-experience that for the first time, but in first person. It's like, oh man, I remember how amazing that was. That was so amazing. And then he's back in his bed. And it's like, well, what's the present then? And then Scrooge is all fucked up. But the present then rolls around. But I'm not going to get into that because I want to hear, John, what's your Christmas past? Or your spirit of fun past?
Well, I took it a little bit differently here. I was looking at it like the video game executives of video game past, present, and future.
Oh God,
that would visit that would visit him. So I thought for the executive of video games past, I have Peter Moore from.
I knew it was going to be Peter Moore.
This is Peter Moore with the Xbox tattoo, mind you.
Oh yeah, of course.
And
the Halo date.
Yeah, and so he would say, look, you were a dick in the past, so clearly you missed the entire life cycle of the Sega Saturn. So there you go. And then for games present, it would obviously be...
He missed all 8 minutes of it.
Exactly. And so for Christmas present, obviously nobody better than Phil Spencer, obviously from Xbox. And he would say, Scrooge, if you continue to be like this on your stream, then Microsoft is just going to have to lay off more people, and it's going to be your fault.
That's right. You should really ask Copilot how to feel better about video gaming.
Exactly. And then for video games future, it would be Andrew Wilson from EA, who I believe is still the CEO, right?
He is.
Yeah, he is
fact,
still
in the buyout, he will keep that role.
All right. And so I said Andrew Wilson will come in and he'll say, "Look, if you continue to hate on games like you do on your stream, nobody will buy games anymore, and Saudi Arabia will just own everything." So there you go. The Saudis will be very upset with you, and you don't like that. No, you don't want that at all. So that's a very dire warning for Scrooge. I think he would definitely heed it after that.
I almost made a joke that's really in bad taste. Really, truly, like maybe a top 10 bad taste RFN joke. I'm glad I caught myself on that one.
There's some obvious ones sitting there.
Oh, there's some. Sitting is all they're doing. Yes. Unlike last week's when I accidented into a bad taste, this would have been deliberate into one, and I was like, "Oh wait, no, don't go there." Since you went ahead and gave your present and future, what is so? I feel like Peter Moore would be the only one that I wouldn't want to punch by the end of the event, though.
I agree. Yeah, Peter Moore's kind of a likable guy. Overall, he made his mistakes, certainly, but...
he makes some really dumb, duncy moves in the past, and sometimes you're like, are you stupid?
Yeah.
Because you're acting really stupid. And he could be kind of a caricature of himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he's not. He's. I never looked at him and thought like, well, he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah, exactly. He's a likable guy.
Like occasionally, I was like, did you really get the fucking Halo release date on your? What's wrong with you, man?
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like seriously, how? Did it? Hey, John, did it make that release date? Do you remember?
I don't think it did.
No, it didn't. It most certainly did not.
Man, that seems like so long ago. Holy crap.
What a fucking buffoon.
Yeah, I mean, man, the days when Halo was relevant, when people cared about the release date for a Halo game. Amazing.
Oh, yeah. All right, so since I'm the only one who hasn't given the remainder, I'm going to give my Ghost of Christmas presents. What do we know about this gaming joy present. What do we know about this Scrooge? We know that he's producing rage bait content on the internet, specifically YouTube. That he used to produce long-form content that was analytical and gave context and provided like informative content. There's probably opinion in there as well as long-form plays of games. So you got to think about like, what's a game that's joyous and fun and about, like sort of typifies gaming that's current, that has been a target for this kind of rage baiting content. John, can you guess what it is?
I cannot.
Mario Kart World. Because there's been a tremendous amount of content that's been created about Mario Kart World that is, it doesn't have as many tracks as Mario Kart 8. Which, no fucking shit. Mario Kart 8 has 1 million goddamn tracks.
Yeah, it just took 15 years to get them all in.
Yeah. Or they're like, I don't like the, I can't remember what the name of the long races are.
Intermission, I think they call them, do they? The bits where it's like more of the connect, it's point to point.
Yeah.
And it's like where you go from one track to another and you've got that connective kind of tissue, which is interesting. I don't think we mentioned this yet on the show, that most recent patch kind of amended some of those quite significantly to kind of put more of a, give it more of a sort of significant kind of design than just sort of a straight run. I think to Koopa Troopa Beach, I want to say, for instance. That was quite interesting.
So what I am imagining is, so there's a couple things in play. Who's going to meet? Who is Marley going to bring to Scrooge to truly like get him to engage in the spirit of play? Like what racer makes the most sense? And like the answer is obvious. It's the one that we all reacted to in the announcement. It's fucking Cal. Scrooge is going to be met by Cal in a cart, who's going to show him. Scrooge has been ranting about this game, how it doesn't have as many characters, how he doesn't like the point-to-point stuff, and how it's ruined online play, and all this shit, which are all real videos that I have seen and wish I had not seen. And Cal is going to just crash through the wall of Scrooge's house. Like, just absolutely just blast through it, driving the Little Dumpy, which is a real name of a real cart in Mario Kart. It's a little dump truck shaped cart. I just find the name Little Dumpy to be extremely funny because if you are unaware, that's another word people use for their ass. So Cal's going to bust through Scrooge's second floor bedroom in the Little Dumpy and drag Scrooge along behind it in, I don't know, what do we put it? We're put him in the Zoom buggy or the rally cart. And they're going to race around they're going to have to drive from his London up to Edinburgh. And just going to drive through a bunch of tracks that they would be there. Because Scrooge has been ranting about, I just want to do 3 laps and then go to the next 3 laps. Is all I want. But as they're doing that, all kinds of wild shit's going to happen. At some point, Magic Koopa's going to come through. And Scrooge is going to get turned into a crab. Is going to be driving around as a crab for a while, or a cheap. They're going to get to fire blue shells at Baby Daisy the whole way up. And reminded how much fun that is. At some point, he's going to become a Peepa. And which point people listening to the show right now are going, what the fuck is a Peepa? It's the ghost that are in a circle and just spin around. Those aren't boos because everything in the Mario universe has its own goddamn name. They're going to see new-faced Donkey Kong and they're going to pass him on the road. He's going to make noises. They're going to get the takeout food and eat that and transform. They're going to have a great time. And Scrooge has been missing all this because he's been ranting about how this isn't Mario Kart 8. This isn't Mario Kart 8. Well, you missed out on playing as fucking Cal and shooting Waluigi off the abyss. That's what you missed out on, brother. You could have had that. So it's kind of like fits in nicely. It's something that Scrooge has been crapping on, but also it gets to show, actually, no, if you engage with this where it is, it's actually a lot of fun. You get to have fun with it. Don't think about what it isn't. Think about what it is. And go from there. Future, though, is really hard. Because Nintendo has not a lot of stuff announced for the future. More than they had last year. Like, much more than they had last year. I think the announced, there's an announced WarioWare game, right? Blanking on what it's called. I think that's a candidate to go with the Wario that y'all have already used.
We got Rhythm Heaven, of course.
Rhythm Heaven, yeah, not Wario. Rhythm Heaven, yeah, that's what I was thinking of. But that doesn't really have a character I can obviously point to, although it would be a very good example. But I also don't know that Scrooge would be ranting about Rhythm Heaven being announced. If Metroid hadn't come out yet, that would be a good one. So I know what it's going to be. Scrooge is going to be visited by Ditto. The Ditto from Pokopia. Because Scrooge has been ranting about how Pokemon Z to A shows that anything that's not the main franchise, all the spin-offs, are just cheap cash grabs with no good art, no good plan. They're just there. They're boring. And how the mainline games have been cheap and have like unimpressive graphics and bad performance, which the performance wasn't great. But Scrooge is going to get dragged to Pokopia, where he's going to see all these Pokemon having fun and interacting while his body horror Ditto friend is transforming its body repeatedly to solve problems. And you have to confront the fact that that game is fucking adorable. And that it looks like a cozy town building game with the weird Pokemon twist that's an incredibly creative take on what the Pokemon franchise can be. Also, it looks really nice. It looks like it's really well drawn, it has good art, has good like visual presence. It has a nice style that is not the exact style of the Pokemon stuff. They've played with it a little bit, but it's kept it close. It's his 8 hours of video content he posted in the last 3 months about how the Pokemon franchise is doomed is going to be confronted by the original for the franchise at least. I understand that Pokopia is treading on space that's well trodden, but is going to be fronted with the I guess the Ditto as a human girl with wavy arms is kind of cute in a weird, uncomfortable sort of way. But just sort of the upbeat Ditto misses humans, so Ditto's recreating the human world on this island. Is kind of a like you can take that as like a downer of a plot line, but I also view it as more of an optimistic perspective. The idea that like, you know, I've been separated from what I care about, but I can make a new thing that I care about here. I have that power. I have that ability. I'm going to do it. Even though I'm just a pile of sentient goo. It's an optimistic look at my situation sucks. I'm going to make it better for myself and for others. And so I think those three are going to give Scrooge ample opportunity to remember why he fell in love with games. Like why they were like fun and exciting. Why being negative about the games that are in front of him rather than engaging with them for what they are is costing him the opportunity to really get in and experience these things for what they can be. And then looking at a game out in the future that represents a franchise that he feels like has become creatively bankrupt. But maybe he's just not been digging deep enough and appreciating these ideas that aren't the ideas he maybe wants them to be. Maybe he wants that serious Pokemon RPG and it's just not going to happen. It's not what they think the franchise should be. So they found something else. I think through that, we can fix him. We can fix him and we can get him to a place where he's not going to be the Grinch anymore. He's gonna go out and he's gonna find fun games and post about them online. He's gonna download the latest indie darling and play that and stream it and tell people how much fun it is and they should give it a shot. I think we can fix him. I think we can get him into a positive place. Or I can get him doing CSGO skins on Kick. Running a CSGO skin. If that's what he needs. Man, I 10% off the top and I'll help you out, brother. But just don't tell Marley. He's a real he's gonna want get his beak wet, and I ain't giving that motherfucker any money. I could do the opposite and try to push him to Kick by just feeding him nothing but the hentai slop on the eShop. which you could probably also only stream on Kick. It's perfect. All right. Does anybody else have any thoughts here?
I mean, if I'm forced to go away from Time Lord Bubsy as the answer for everything, not just this question, not just the 3 parts of this question, but just everything. I think Spirit of Play of the past, I would say let's go with Pac-Man for the golden age of the arcade. And it can have a little subtext there about, it's all fun and, simple and straightforward and unadulterated kind of fun, but there's just this little kind of ominous portent about the dangers of reckless, thoughtless consumption gone mad or whatever. Greed, so you've got that. It's got the cautionary element that you're looking for. The present is tough. The problem is I am more tempted to construct this as just 3 degrees of the past. Rather than the past, present, and future. But yeah, for the most present, I'm going to go with like Link from, Tears of the Kingdom to just represent like all of console gaming, really. So it's a bit of a jump from just like the golden age of the arcade to the joys of console gaming. But it's like, okay, there is something as great as it was with arcades. There had to be instantly accessible. They had to be very simple. They had to be addictive and all that. Here's the merits of the long form game, which obviously had become much more of a thing pretty quickly with console games. You go back to the original Zelda, kind of was a big step in that direction. But it's got to be said, as time's gone on, as budgets have got bigger and all the games competing for people's time, seem to be in an escalated war for like, okay, well, we're the game you should spend 100 hours with or whatever. Let's at least try and focus on the positive elements of that. The vast, rich worlds to explore and the complex and very kind of open to the player's own particular play style or creativity, all that kind of stuff, rather than the prescribed experience that we associate with the arcade. So that's the present. I can't come up with anything for the future that isn't just terrible. I'm not a very imaginative man. That's obviously the first problem. So I don't know the future of gaming. It's some sort of like
the far future, though. It could be like early 2026.
AI Cristiano Ronaldo with like 6 extra thumbs. It's awful. Whatever I'm going to come up with is awful. And yet, it won't be bad enough. If there's one thing I've learned over the years is that...
Are we going to have to send Scrooge to your place as well after we're done with fixing him?
If there's one thing I've learned over the years is that being a cynic will not protect you if you lack imagination, because it will still be worse than what you're expecting if you don't have the imagination to really think about what the worst case scenario actually is.
All right.
I know now what the Battlefield 7 is going to be, but I know that Battlefield 8 will be with like sticks and stones. No, anyway. I was trying to riff on Albert Einstein's whole World War III weapons, World War IV.
I knew where you were going. I just
it didn't really
struggling.
Work.
I was struggling to get there with you. All right, Greg. But let me give you a little bit of optimism, just a little bit of optimism for the future. So we've announced what the next Arcade Archive games is. They've announced a few of them because they're coming up on 500. We now have the Outfoxies coming, which you've never seen. It is fucking insane. It's a almost Smash-like, although it predates Smash. Where it's 5 characters in a fighting game with all kinds of fucked up weaponry. It is a very odd and nonsensical game, and I strongly encourage people play it because it
is heavily it is sprite based. Everything scales, wraps around, turns around. It's very chaotic, and apparently it doesn't play great, which
no, it doesn't.
Doesn't really surprise me, but it looks really fucking weird, and
it's so weird. It's beautiful how weird it is. But they've also announced that they're the next few games, because it's the end of the holidays, and also 500. So, like, look, Arcade Archives, from the past to the future, how can you not feel optimistic when they've released 500 of these fucking things and they're still going every single week? Like, somebody out there still fucking cares. Somebody out there still fucking cares, and I find that motivating. I find the idea that, like, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to release Rock and Rope, which is what they released last week. And people are like, yeah, Rock and Rope, I guess. Sure. They didn't get discouraged. They didn't go like, oh man, we released Rock and Rope and nobody bought it. Man, what are we going to do? I don't know, we'll release Bomb B, which is another game that I guarantee you nobody fucking bought. We're going to release Munchmobile. John, do you remember Munchmobile from the, it was in the collection for, I can't remember the name. The SNK collection. This was the one with the car that had the giant hands come out of it to grab food. Fucking nightmare.
I do not remember Munchmobile. I think I have the SNK collection somewhere, I think, but I didn't really play
we
too much of
definitely talked about Munchmobile extensively, because it's a fucking nightmare to look at.
Yeah.
Like, somebody wakes up every day for Arcade Archives and says, no, I can sell this. I can sell this fucking game. I can sell people, what's it going, Tokyo Wars, which is just weird fucking tank game. I can sell people in the year of our Lord 2025 GB. And they just do it. And, like, I appreciate the optimism of saying I can sell Steelworker. You know who they could sell Steelworker to? They could sell Steelworker to James Jones, who has Steelworker. Why? I don't know. Because I couldn't believe the temerity of them releasing Steelworker. There's an optimism here. Like, is it a good idea? No. It's a terrible idea. But you know what? Optimism breeds terrible ideas. It's just, sometimes just embrace that somebody's going to release Air Combat 22 and you're going to buy it, and then you're going to find out you can beat the whole game in 4 minutes. It happens. We all make mistakes. You gotta be like Arcade Archives and just keep going. Just stop for nothing. Even when you should. Even when you definitely should. Just keep going. I can't believe they've already fucking released some of the shit they've released. It's amazing. Absolute goddamn it. Psychopaths. Dead Connection. Alright. They went kit and caboodle, which is a weird ass platformer game. Arcade Archives Othello. They released Othello.
Wow.
And then the next week was King of Fighters 98, and then they went back to Dead Connection, which is a weird brawler. So they just woke up for 1 week
talked
that
about
month.
it not that long ago.
You did. They woke up for 1 week and were like, important game, and then they went back to sleep for like 2 months. For like 2 months, we got nothing. We got just weird shit. And then they're like, you know what we need? King of Fighters. And you can tell when they think it's an important game because it'll have like 9 versions. And you can tell when they don't think it's an important game because it'll be Switch, PS4. And those are the only versions. They're like, nope, you cannot make us make an Xbox version of Arcade Archives City Bomber. We will not do it. We cannot be forced to do it. It's beautiful. I love it. Konami's table tennis, John. You can buy 1985's Konami's table tennis.
Oh man! Finally, What an opportunity!
I can't think of anything more optimistic than that. I can't. Because you have to be a real fucking optimist. Think that's a good idea.
That's going to teach me the spirit of play. That's for sure.
I almost made another joke that got me in trouble because I would have regretted it immensely. Because it's a single player game. You can figure out the rest. Lead Angle. There it is. There's the spirit of play. It's a game where you just shoot people in first person. But they didn't know how to do first person, so your character's just a yellow outline. It's beautiful. I love it. All right. Let's do the next email. Let me go pull it. Let me unmark this email so it's no longer marked as to be used because we used it. Let's do Tony's. I will paste it in the chat. John, would you like to read it?
Yeah, certainly. If you post it in the chat, I will read it.
I am doing that.
Just underneath the shots of the Xbox Bowl trophy.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
God.
The Xbox sponsored a bowl game. The trophy, the MVP trophies are the achievement unlocked logo. They are worth 100 gamer score, which is a low tier achievement. Good job, Microsoft. Yeah. And the trophy is a holder for a ROG ally, because they only got this bowl like 3 weeks ago. So presumably they just made a trophy out of whatever they could fucking find.
Whose email is this, James?
I love it. I love. Sorry. This is from Tony.
Gentlemen, Tony writes, Gentlemen, had to let you know that I am the person whose childhood game was Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, because of course there's somebody out there. I turned 13 in July 2003 and got a PS2 with a copy of the game for my birthday. I got both sequels, and as an adult, quote unquote, backed both Kickstarters for the remasters of 1 and 2, and will back the third if they...
I didn't believe this was real.
That's a threat if I've ever heard one. Very surreal to have the podcast speaking directly to me as I wait to pick up my children from school. Do any of you have games like these that you know are objectively not the highest quality, but the rose-colored glasses of your youth tint them to near perfection? In my opinion, Ty actually holds up pretty well, and most definitely contributed to my affinity for collectathon-style 2D and 3D platformers. Keep up the good work, Tony.
I legitimately did not believe that this was real. I was like, there's no way there are two Ty the Tasmanian Tiger
I predicted
Kickstarters.
It. I said, like, they're out there. And yeah, like, there were Kickstarters and they were successful. I mean, what more do you want as proof?
A lot.
I just so much else to ask for, Guillaume. Here,
like there are tons of little games.
I appreciate.
I don't know. Like Frogger 3D was like one of the most, popular PS1 games ever, and people don't talk about it, but it's
sure.
a fact. And there's probably a lot of people who played it and who would play it again if you put it in front of them. They'd be like, "Oh shit, I played this as a kid,"
They'd be like, "Wow, this fucking sucks."
Well, sometimes that happens.
I see you're playing Demolition Man.
Or like,
trust me, with Frogger 3D, it would happen very fast. I have played it in the last year.
Or Karen was like revisiting, like she played a ton of Lion King on Genesis, and not a great game, but
no,
people have fun memories for those. Anyway, like I don't know. I feel like most of my childhood has already been like explored on this podcast in terms of video games. Anyway, like
I mean, you could touch on something though, like,
right. But like something like sometimes I've had bad experiences, or not. Not bad experiences is too harsh, but like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collection, revisiting the first Game Boy Ninja Turtles games, a game really showed me like, yeah, this really doesn't hold up. It was not that great, and it was very simplistic. And also like seeing the design documents showing just how there was nothing more to it. Like as a kid,
right.
There was like all this space, like the potential of that game was infinite. I knew that there were secrets that were hidden in certain levels, and there was the possibility that I hadn't found them. But seeing the confirmation that no, you explored each and every, like all,
you've seen it all.
You've seen it all. You've absolutely beaten this game and seen everything it has to offer. That was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, That's kind of a...
The world has walls, Guillaume, and you found them.
I did. So, yeah, there's that. But then there are, like I've been enjoying... I know you disagree on this, but I still think Final Fantasy Adventure on the Game Boy is excellent. Despite the detection collision that's wonky at best. Like, that's a nice word for it, actually. And some, iffy design decisions. Revisiting it, like, I had a blast. Mostly, like, yeah, it's going to be Game Boy games like this. Like, when I pick up Mortal Kombat Collection, I'm probably going to go straight to Game Boy Mortal Kombat 2, which I do not have fond memories of, but I did play back then.
It's bad. I also played it. It's very bad.
It's got
it's shockingly
one
bad.
tune, so if we can call that a tune, and 2 stages. And I can't remember. I think we got Shao Kahn, but we did not get Kintaro. And the Game Gear version, which a friend of mine had Kintaro, but not Shao Kahn.
Yeah, no, that sounds right. So I'm struggling a little bit to figure out what game this would be. So like I know based on age where it should fall. It should fall in the N64 space because at that point I was old enough that I had some say in what I was playing. Whereas previously I had no say in what I was playing. And it's also quite likely that it's going to be something that my, let's say, less than fully developed tastes enjoyed more than the average person probably did. Something that I ended up adopting as my own, even in light of other people being like, brother, this isn't that great. I thought it would be Episode 1 Racer, but the reality is that game is pretty well remembered, kind of shockingly well remembered, considering. It's hard as shit. It's towards the end, but like people generally speaking have a fairly positive memory of that game, despite being associated with Episode 1, which people have a fairly negative memory towards. Although I would argue, having seen it in the last year, it's of the prequel movies, it's probably the best one. And it's got the most fun shit in it versus 2, which is just an absolute fucking slog.
2 is terrible.
2 is an absolute slog.
Well,
3 has some good fights in it.
Yeah, I would argue Revenge of the Sith is the actually the best of the 3.
I think it's the best movie. I think the first one has the most fun shit in it. Like, because there is, I mean, because it's just George Lucas going like, I want to make a racing sequence. And it's like, okay, we could do like a 5-minute race. Yeah. And he's like, no, I want to do 22 minutes of racing. There's what about the rest of the plot?
We agree. Attack of the Clones it's a terrible movie.
Yeah, it's terrible. And it's
so boring.
God. I mean, it's them running around playing detective for a while in a 50s diner because George Lucas wanted to make a 50s diner detective movie. I get it, George. You're just making the movies you want to make. You've always done that. But for fuck's sake, man, spare me this. Also, she's like 10 years older than he is, and it's weird because they're suddenly the same age. Fucking stop it.
And their acting is absolutely
atrocious, terrible. And they can both act, but they're terrible in that.
Yes.
They had no chemistry. That's the issue. They had none chemistry. The meme of the pizza that's like none sauce, none cheese with beef, and it's just a pizza crust with meatballs on it. That's what that movie is.
Yeah.
That is their chemistry. So I kind of thought about, is it like an Aki Engine game? Because those would probably be terrible now. But then I thought, well, those would all be WCW games, and I would be treading into like 99, 2000, 2001 WCW. And John, how much good content would you say was in the WCW in those years?
Not a lot.
No, it's pretty dark. Also, the idea of making an NWO game in 1999 is fucking depressing.
Yeah,
because that's finger poke of doom territory.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same episode that they told people that Mankind was going to win the WWF title, and then 600,000 people changed the channel to go watch him win that title because that was pre-taped. They did that so people wouldn't change, and in the end, they all did because they wanted to go see him win a title because they liked him. WCW had abused him all those years. It's fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think N64 though, N64 might be. I mean, I could say something like, okay, there's like Atari 2600 games that haven't aged well, NES games that I liked back in the day.
Yeah.
But those ones are kind of expected, right?
Yeah.
But the N64 is interesting because a lot of its games, they were too late to be. They obviously weren't 16-bit games, so they couldn't be, right. 16 good 16-bit games, but they were too early to be good 3D games.
The industry was in a huge inflection point, and so there's a lot of ideas. Like there's a tremendous flood of creativity in that genre of generation. People just like, fuck it, how do I make a game like this in 3D? People weren't able to do follow the leader the same way they had been. And so you see games come out that are completely terrible, but not because people didn't try, they just didn't know. But you also see games come out that are bad, like are objectively bad, but had interesting ideas that nobody had tried, that they're kind of like the game itself is interesting to talk about because it's got weird ideas in it. And you're like, well, that's a curious thing to create that you've made. Mickey Speedway USA has some of that in it, where it's like, there's some weird things in here for an early kart racing game in 3D. Mega Man 64, which is just Mega Man Legends, on the PlayStation, has some really interesting ideas for how you do a game like that in 3D at that time when they didn't really know what Mega Man in 3D should be. And arguably, they've never figured out what Mega Man in 3D should be. Every time they've tried, like, Legends is the best stab they've taken at it, but it just consistently, like, falls down for lack of... It remains an unsolved problem. I think the answer of game that has interesting ideas that was trying to grow something that I have more joy for in my heart than most people and would absolutely consume if it became suddenly available, tied to the game that we spoke about, is the other Episode 1 game on the N64, which is Battle for Naboo, which is a spin-off sequel thing of Rogue Squad, which had come out a few years earlier, that very famously had the Naboo starfighter in it for years before we knew what one looked like, if you entered like 7 straight codes that the game rejected and told you they were wrong. So that didn't get shown until after it had come out. In fact, it was so early that the Naboo starfighter's design changed, so it looks different in the game. This was a game set in Episode 1, which automatically made it controversial. But it also had ground vehicles, which is the only game in the series that has ground vehicles, I think. Although I think one of them you could get out on foot. I think that was the second GameCube game, which did not play well, having seen it. But I thought the ground stuff was interesting. I thought it had a lot of transitions mid-fight where you would change craft, or you would change even like the perspective you're doing the fight from. It had some neat ideas that came from Rogue Squadron, and then it's basically forgotten because it's tied to Episode 1. And so like even when Factor 5 was going out there saying like, we could remake them, they were talking about remaking the N64 ones, the GameCube ones, and this was totally not mentioned, which is a shame because I think it had ideas that were fun and interesting, and I would absolutely love to play it again. Would I enjoy it? I don't know. Like, there's some frustrating stuff in all of those games, but I would love to see it. Like, I'll be honest, what's the first GameCube one? Is it Rogue Leader?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, It very much feels like Rogue Squad HD because there's some of the same missions in it.
Right.
Seeing the same effect for this would be really interesting because Theed's kind of a neat place, and seeing stuff on the ground is kind of fun. And look, driving around a fucking tank is sick. It just is. I like driving around a tank. Let me drive around a tank. Disney, let me drive around a tank. That's all I'm asking. I want to blow up battle droids with a tank. Please and thank you. Greg, Guillaume?
It's tricky in the sense that I'd say, the most analogous age for me would have been in the N64 era again. I was very similar sort of age to what's Bert's mentioned in the email there about when the Tasmanian Tiger came out for the first Banjo-Kazooie, which, I'm sure has got a certain amount of overlap there. But, that one, does it... I don't know, that would kind of, to some extent, it holds up somewhat like okay, I would say, in retrospect. You know, there's some aspects of it that kind of hold up a little better than Mario 64. You know, because it doesn't have the kind of what feels now quite awkward, like instance thing where, you know, you get kicked out of the level and have to come back, and, you know, it just lets you keep collecting stuff, and it kind of just ends up feeling smoother as a result. But obviously, you know, there's definitely things about it you can look back at that haven't aged nearly as well either. But I was older, but I'd say 2E is a better fit in the sense that when I've played that since, there's just a feeling to me of like, not unambiguously so, but it is worse than the first game, right? Like the ways in which it tries to do more were impressive at the time, right? And that's sort of when I think of my memories of playing it when it came out, like that's kind of mostly what I remember, is being impressed with the scale of the world, you know, even bigger than what Banjo-Kazooie was doing, which was already on a scale that was quite a bit larger than what you'd seen in Mario 64. And, you know, the whole idea of like, okay, some of these worlds are going to kind of like interconnect more. So it's not just like, you know, when we think of Mario 64 and the going into the paintings and everything's just kind of siloed per world and just connects back to the hub. It's like, oh no, well, you've got the train system that kind of runs, you know, between, various different worlds, and different like shortcuts and things that loop back from one to another, and what this idea actually in some way is one big world. And, you know, some of these things you're going to have to kind of understand how they interconnect and take something from one to the other, and, you know, to get certain, jiggies or whatever and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, like I said, at the time, I think there was much more of a feeling of like, yes, this is, you know, more, this is bigger, this, you know, there's more moves, more abilities, more this, that, and the other. And then when you play it now, or not necessarily now, but even any time in the last however many years, it to me is just like, I don't think that the additions make it a better game, but you kind of, you know, at the time, you know, there was definitely much more of a thing of being impressed by a game, you know, was a bigger sort of chunk, had a bigger share of your enjoyment of it. I think that because that's some of what kind of, I think that was a lot of what the N64's kind of appeal was, right? You know, you already mentioned it, the sort of transition period that the industry was in. The N64 was really, from the very beginning, right, the whole Project Reality marketing and, you know, but how they were kind of pushing Mario 64 and how everything, you know, was going to be so geared around polygonal games and 3D and all that kind of stuff. Like it was about like, you've got to have an N64 because you've got to play these things that you've never played before. Right, like these experiences that you've never played before, and so a lot of the time, you know, that those things came along and they were really, really impressive. Mario 64 was obviously Ocarina of Time, huge landmark experiences, but they also had, you know, sort of some sound kind of design and you know, choices being made that I think you can still, you know, kind of go back and enjoy those. And, you know, it's, you see, yes, might seem a bit simple now, you know, a bit kind of lean. You can see how the subsequent iterations of those games specific, or those franchises specifically, but also, you know, what other developers were doing in that space, kind of iterated on them and furthered them and did more interesting things in them that was less predicated on just the novelty factor of like, just wow, look at this, you've not played this before, right? You know, and just like, you know, it doesn't really matter that much what the details are because you're just too busy, you know. So I was certainly young enough at that time to be too busy just being kind of impressed by the novelty factor and all that. But yeah, I'd say 2E's the one that's just like, yeah, there's the time and place were pretty crucial to me enjoying it as much as I did at that time, because it just, you know, afterwards you feel like that there's a lot of kind of it's so much less immediate, you know, like there's so many sort of, I mean, it's a while ago now since I really kind of got deeper into the game. I think when it was on Xbox, arcade or whatever, is it, you know, something like that. Like there's so many kind of like, there's so much less immediate. You have to go through so many hoops to like get particular jiggies. It's like, okay, yeah, let me do the checklist. And it's like, well, yes, I've got, you know, this many in this world and that many in that world. You might think, oh, well, you're going to go to that place and, you know, try and find everything and you know, kind of check that world off the list kind of thing. But then it's like, oh, well, no, there's like, you know, 2 or 3 things you got to do in some of these other worlds that you think you've already found everything in before you can even have the things required to find the next jiggy in that other one. It's a bit convoluted. It doesn't really, to me, you know, ultimately, it's not like sophisticated enough in its gameplay to justify being this convoluted in its structure. I would say that's kind of where it doesn't have like a sort of very happy medium, and it's a sort of overcomplicated kind of thing. But the end of it, but you know, I wouldn't say it's, you know, terrible or anything. There's some huge step back or whatever, but and you can understand how they got there, right? Because that's just the way sequels usually were back then, right? It's just like you especially with the way reviews work back then, and not to say that they don't work somewhat like this today, but it's just that anytime you can say, oh, well, you know, everything we had before, well, this has got more. You know,
right.
It's anytime you could say, well, you've literally got every single move that you had in Banjo-Kazooie from the beginning. No Metroid stuff going on here. You don't lose stuff and then have to get it back, but now it's psychic. Forget that. You've got everything and shit loads more on top. But there are downsides to that, it turns out, actually, if when you play through it again. It's just like, it is a lot of stuff heaped onto itself and it doesn't really quite all the way hold together.
Cool.
Yeah, I guess like beyond the Game Boy, I do have one game that I still have like the rose-colored glasses for, because I played so much of it, but realistically it's not really worth anyone's time today, and that's Indiana Jones' Greatest Adventures on the SNES, made by none other than Factor 5.
Hey!
And, yeah. But I played a shit ton of that game. I bought it along with Demon's Crest, because buying both was cheaper than buying Final Fantasy III. And I felt like I made a good deal. And I played, of course, like I love Demon's Crest, and I think that, you know, it still holds up today. But Indiana Jones' Greatest Adventures, like, it was kind of weird. Like, it came out in 1994, just like 5 years after the last Indiana Jones movie back then. And already those movies felt ancient to me. Like, the passage of time was different back then. Like it just felt like, oh, that's weird. Like, although we had already prepped by, you know, Super Star Wars and, you know, all those games, they were, you know, about much older movies. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it felt late for a collection of Indiana Jones games. And of course, Factor 5 being European and, you know, making the Turrican games and everything, their platformer design philosophies were different than what I was used to for the most part. They were, thankfully, probably it's a more sound platformer than the Super Star Wars games, which are, I don't even know, like they just kind of defy physics in many ways. Like, they just like
I mean, that's one I played just the first Super Star Wars on Super Famicom, and you know, I enjoyed it a lot as a kid, but the weirdness of it was very apparent as a kid. That's not something I had to discover later. Like, the difficulty curve is all over the place, big spikes early on, other spots where it's just utterly trivial if you've got the right weapon, like a home, you know, the whole boss fights where, specifically, I think it's you have to fight the tractor beam from the death zone.
Yeah.
I like to imagine you have to punch it
something that Alec Guinness just lowers a lever. It now shoots at you, and I just remember being with Chewbacca. And you get a homing shot, so you just stand in a corner and just firing it directly above Chewbacca's head, and it just homes in and kills it and completely nukes any element of design that boss ever had. It felt way more all over the place than other stuff I'd played to that point.
Yeah, I mean, like the third one, Return of the Jedi, like you could play as the Ewoks and shoot, a string of arrows, but also, okay, now we're going to Jabba's palace. Okay, we're still going to Jabba's palace, but in mode 7. Okay, now we're at Jabba's palace, and now we gotta fight a boss. Is it gonna be the Rancor? No, that's gonna be when we're inside Jabba's palace. First, we need to get inside, and so we're gonna we're gonna fight that, that kind of, I guess it's a droid, but it's just like the eye that comes out of the door. And, speaks to C-3PO.
Jabba's smart doorbell or whatever.
Yeah. So imagine it just like, 50 times bigger, and now it can crush you. And it's just going all over the screen. So,
man, Ring's getting some new features. I'm kind of worried where Amazon's going with this.
So
I think the funny thing is you fight the Sarlacc in Super Star Wars. They already kind of fired that shot, but I assume it comes back in Jedi as well.
I actually don't remember, but they kind of have to, I suppose, because they had to ring every little set, every little possible, like for an idea for a stage.
I think my favorite thing in Super Star Wars of just like, wow, this is pretty liberal, is where you walk into the cantina scene, shoot everything that moves, the boss of the cantina is one of the chess pieces from Chewie's holographic chess game.
Yeah, no,
but it's real.
The chessboard is based on reality. I don't see what the problem is here.
But I don't remember it just chilling out in the cantina, and it's enormous.
Well, that's because you haven't watched the Christmas special. That's the problem.
Also, you fight Ed 209 in the hangar of the Death Star, which I don't remember that happening. People forget that the Star Wars movies, well, not Disney Star Wars movies, the 6 that Lucas made. Like, at least half of every single one of those movies is people talking. People having conversations. And they're advancing plot through words. That's not easy to turn into video games. So you just make shit up as you go. And to be
fair, the way that they made them, like, they just okay, let's have everything blow up all the time. Everywhere, all over the screen.
Well, and also, to be fair, it was preceded by, like, Darth Vader Scorpion on whatever on the Famicom. So, I mean, it was, like, completely grounded because it was a Lucas Arts game, right? They were Lucas Arts at that point, I think, because they was Lucas Film games
but I think
first.
that maybe LJN was responsible for Super Star Wars, or am I? Okay,
LJN
maybe I
was
shouldn't say
involved,
that.
I believe. I believe they might have been. Yeah.
But going back to Indiana Jones, like, it was not like that, actually. It was a lot more it was a lot slower, more methodical. But the main thing that was weird about it...
JVC, not LJN. That's who you were thinking of.
Oh, okay. JVC, another 3-letter developer?
Makers of your favorite VCR.
Yeah. It's weird. But, so Indiana Jones' Greatest Adventures, like, was a lot slower, more methodical, but also, like, weird secrets, like, this wall, you can just jump through it, and then you're gonna find an icon that's, a 1-up. Because it was like all of the 3 movies together, you would think like, okay, well, they're not going to spend that much time in Cairo because, they have like to fill up an entire game's worth from like the one movie. Like, we're not going to be stuck on Tatooine for 18 levels, just like in Super Star Wars. But no, like, you still go through like Cairo and then you're going around looking at, I forget exactly. You're pushing a lot of whatever Marion was kidnapped in around, like that
was
little
like the rickshaw.
No, the first I don't know, pots. They're not pots. They're like braided baskets. Yeah, you're pushing a lot of baskets around for some reason. Also, like
because
you
that's
go
better than a rickshaw, right?
Yeah, and then like okay, she gets kidnapped, and then okay, we're still in Cairo, but at night, and then like it's across the rooftops, whatever. Like it was very repetitive, but still, there was a lot of good about it. Like the level design was, I don't know, I guess I grew to like it. And I eventually I kind of knew that game like the back of my hand. Like I knew it. I knew all the little tricks. I knew that, if you swing your whip and you hit the enemies with the tip of it instead of just, like sending the whip through them, it hits twice instead of once. So when you're playing the game on hard, because of course, like I mastered it by playing it on hard. Like that really counts, because otherwise you're going to have to swing that whip at, some bad guys 6-7 times to kill them. It was very tedious. Anyways, all this to say, I guess I'm demonstrating.
Whips aren't really weapons, so I kind of get it. Like they're not. It's
yeah.
Whipping someone to death would take a really long time.
Sure.
Which is why Indy has a gun.
I thought for sure that the game would maybe show up at some, on some service, like just like they made, I think, Super Empire Strikes Back or something available when one of the Star Wars movies came out.
Yeah, I think it was the Wii Virtual Console.
Yeah, but even more recently than that, I think PlayStation got something when, or maybe it was for the release of the EA games, or I don't know. Anyway,
I think you're right. I think there was something more recent with Star Wars, wasn't there? Whereas I think maybe Indy was on the Wii Virtual Console, but you've got to go that far back at least.
Right? Yeah, that game was on the Wii Virtual Console, but yeah, I thought they would bring it back, and I thought like maybe I'll write an article about it and about how like that game was actually my first exposure to Raiders of the Lost Ark, because I had seen the sequels, they were on TV, but Raiders of the Lost Ark never was, or I didn't know it was because it was named something different in French, and I just didn't know that, that's part of the Indiana Jones series, because back then they Indiana Jones was not part of the title even. But anyway, like I just remember like watching Raiders for the first time and being like, oh shit, it's just like in the game. That music, the Ark theme, like I recognize this from my game. The game had like a THX certification for some reason.
Nice.
Because I guess Factor 5 was just that good with using the SNES sound chip or something.
Didn't THX come out of the Lucas space? So that would make some degree. Yeah, like it would make sense.
It's literally the name of one of his films.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. But like the Super Star Wars games were not THX certified. I think that Indiana Jones was like the first Super Nintendo one to be, or maybe the only one. I don't know. It was a big deal. I don't know. You listen to it today and you're like,
I'm also a big deal, so I understand.
Anyway, that's enough for that game, but that definitely fits. Like that's if I'm honest with myself, that's definitely my the Tasmanian tiger.
Nice. Does anybody else have a that's my tie, the Tasmanian tiger phrase to end?
I don't know. I mean, it's tough because I can't say that. I mean, there's games that I look back on, like on the some of those games. If I was to be totally honest with myself, some of those games would be on the Commodore 64 because I absolutely love those games, and I play them now, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
man, this is
I get that.
First off, incredibly hard, absolutely impossible, and also just these graphics aren't great. I would say probably even more so than 2600 games, because a lot of 2600 games, they were incredibly good within the limitations. But yeah, definitely on Commodore 64, there was a few of them where, I mean, especially like, like RPGs I kind of remember fondly, like stuff like Bard's Tale, and you play Bard's Tale now, and you're just like, my God, this is impossible. How the hell did anybody ever do this? There's no auto mapping. There's no nothing. It's just like, the graphics are terrible. Like, I tried to replay the first Bard's Tale a while back, and I was like, this is pretty awful. Like, this is a fucking miserable experience. Like, they were rough. Even games like Ultima, too. Like, the old Ultimas, they were like, wow. Like, this was pretty state-of-the-art back in, like, 1986 or something, but I mean, Now, you try to play that game and you're like, geez, this is rough.
40 years of understanding have evolved before those games. I mean, we ran into this with, what was the point and click we played last year?
Seventh Guest? Or
Seventh Guest. Yeah, that absolute piece of shit. People were like,
well, you talk about something that was predicated on novelty and impressing you, and you kind of that obscuring some of the more, crude elements or things that don't really quite work. That surely is not something that I had the pleasure of playing at the time, but in retrospect, it's the only way that you can kind of square how people were, did have such good experiences with it, seemingly, as they did.
Right. Because you can go back and find Usenet posts, which I did from the time the game came out, where people are like, this game is amazing, I don't understand any of these puzzles. And it's the same fucking puzzles 30 years later that we were like, this puzzle is fucked up and is wrong. It's just not correct.
Yeah, but back then it was like, oh, it's on a CD, it's got, it's digital, It's like FMV, this is sophisticated. Finally, games for grown-ups.
But actually, that's the funny thing. So in those Usenet posts, you see this. You see, I don't want to call them revanchists because they were correct. You see the almost like the insurrectionist in the conversation going like, what's wrong with you people? These puzzles are terrible. There's just like they're sprinkled in, but otherwise, you're seeing like I can't believe there is a certain amount of like, wow, I can't believe what this looks like, but also the people on the Usenet were extremely more hardcore at that point, so they're comparing it to other games who had better puzzles, and so it's actually not being as received as well there as it was in the general public who weren't on the internet. But there is kind of like you could kind of sometimes see it with a game where like you can see in real time that perception slide. Which is fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think a pretty significant parallel could be drawn with something like, from good many years later, something like Heavy Rain, right? Where, again, when I played that on PS3, there was definitely an element of like, this is impressive, for the ability with which they're able to kind of convey the performances through polygonal graphics rather than anything, pre-rendered, was definitely as impressive as anything I'd seen. I mean, I got a PS3 relatively late and hadn't played that many PS3 games when I played that. But, if I hadn't had as many, positive kind of reviews as it had, I wouldn't have even bothered playing it. I mean, admittedly, I still bought it on discount and went in halves with somebody else. We just traded it back and forth. So we would.
I rented it, I think.
Yeah,
it was something you could do.
yeah, that was like our version of renting it, I guess, was just like buy it for cheap and split it. But, there was still an element of, it was impressive. It was, kind of felt like it was on the technical bleeding edge and all that stuff. But, obviously, the actual like thrillers that it was trying to replicate, it didn't do it that well, right? It wasn't actually as good as something like 7 from the 90s that it was so obviously trying to, evoke in your mind. But it kind of feels like for a lot of people that just kind of slid by because they hadn't seen a game, do storytelling in that way that well before, so it's something that, it keeps happening. I assume it's going on right now, that there's games that, will impress people. And then years later, when the things that it did are old hat, you kind of look back and what you see are the warts rather than, the cutting edge element of it. Obviously that has diminished over time though, because of the diminishing returns of graphical kind of horsepower and all that stuff, right? It just, for as much as, the development costs seem to just go up and up and up and up and up, the actual direct sort of dividends of that in terms of, how much more evocative these visuals are and all that. It's to my eyes anyway, admittedly not that brilliant eyes, it doesn't seem that obvious anymore.
That's a really good one because I remember there being 2 threads of conversation there. People were really impressed by it. And then there was this a loud but smaller group going, the plot doesn't make any fucking sense and characters lie to you in their internal monologue.
It cheats. It's an outright cheat. I mean, you know, sleight of hand and all that is one thing in these sort of thriller type, you know, plots and all that, but outright cheating is a bit, it just makes you kind of feel like, you know, it's, you've been taken, basically.
Yeah,
and you know, there's a bunch of other weak, obviously, where everybody had fun at the expense of that one character. He was trying to do like I don't know, what kind of accent was he trying to do? The Nam and Jaden guy or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there was lots of poking fun at it at the time. Don't misunderstand. But
and that was before David Cage went on his kick of, I will refuse to hire American children to play American children. I will get French children to do it thing that he did for like 3 games. And it's like, why do all these kids on an American military base sound like they grew up outside Paris? The answer is they did. That game is a very interesting one because it did get a ton of praise. And then like eventually now when you talk about it, people are like, why does the killer lie to you in their own internal monologue about figuring out who the killer is? They know who the killer is. And it's not like they're having a mental breakdown or anything. It's just a straight up.
Yeah, they're kind of like they're lying to themselves because they've got like, you know, a mental illness or so. I never got the impression that there was any potential out, you know, any interpretation.
No, it's just bad. It's just bad writing.
No, it's just cheating. It's just like, oh, you will never guess who it is. Yeah, well, yeah, because you gave me deliberately misleading information by your own rules. Yeah. Like, it's just a cheat.
But like that, but then when you talk about like, okay, once the dramatic effect of those visuals go away, what happens in his next 2 games? Well, Beyond Two Souls is roundly made fun of, which it deserves to because it's actually stupider somehow. But then a bunch of other crap came out around that game, and then his game that's not about racism at all, Robots Go Sit in the Back of the Bus, with all the subtlety of a hammer to the skull. Is really made fun of. Like at that point, I would say the commentary on that game fully turned the opposite way, and now we're at making fun of it is the go-to. It's beautiful. It's truly beautiful to see the man who caused Omicron to be a real thing, that absolute piece of garbage game, to finally get justice.
To be clear, the game, not the COVID variant, because that would be a bit too harsh on him, probably.
Only a little bit. Only a little bit too harsh on him. God, that game. I mean, that is a game where you take over people's bodies and knowing it's going to kill them just to solve a single puzzle about poisoning a monster, and then just to drive the knife home, you have sex with his wife, knowing that as soon as you disconnect, he's going to die. Like, it's, I didn't make any of that up. It's fucking nuts. That game is crazy. He got David Bowie to make appearances in that game. I don't understand. The fuck, man? What the fuck? Omicron is terrible. It's terrible in 1,000 million ways where you just sit there and go like, this was published by a major publishing? What the fuck? So yeah. That's a good poll. That's a really good poll. So we're gonna email us again, rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. Send them over. We'll get to these in the new year. Appreciate emails who have come in. We've still got some in the chute that we can do, but I'd love when we come back from the break for you to have dropped a bunch of email in our inbox. You're gonna have some time off with family. Your family's gonna want to spend some time away from your family. Spend that time drafting an email to RFN. Really put your thinking cap up. Come up with some ideas. Come up with some, like, you heard GX's email earlier. That was way more clever than we deserved. So, you don't have to rise to the level there. I mean, we still have leftover emails for leftover questions on the John Lindemann trivia, but hit us with some thoughts. Spend some time, relax, enjoy the end of the year, and send RFN an email. Those go to rfn@nintendoworldreport.com. I have fulfilled my obligation for saying the email address for this week. So, we are kind of light on new business. We did a bunch of Metroid Prime 4 last week. I still don't have it. So we're gonna kind of skip most of our new business. The new DK challenge is out. Hopefully it's still out there by the time you hear this. If you haven't gotten it yet, I got it. This one's super fucking easy. This is the easiest one yet. So go look forward to that. I still enjoyed it. It was still a good time. But Guillaume does have a little bit of new business. So Guillaume, why don't you get us out of this show?
Sure. So, Karen and I saw the credits on Absolum. The game I've been... did I talk about it last week or 2 weeks ago? I think it was just last week, right?
I think it was last week. I don't know. I listened to both episodes basically back to back, so I can't help you.
Yeah, so we rolled the credits on it, but of course it's not done completely because, as I mentioned, but like as has gotten even more clear now that we finished it, like this game is so Hades inspired. Like they're really trying to do the Hades thing. So of course, like you go, you see the credits, you're not done. There's more to the game. It's not quite. I don't think that we're gonna have to beat the game like 6-7 times before we get the full story or whatever. But it's kind of like that. The game is quite challenging, however. Like it takes a while to actually get to the final boss, and to just getting to him is like already a big challenge. So there's that. It's been a while since I played Hades. I don't remember how many tries it took me to finally reach Hades, but I feel like there was maybe like Absolum is a little bit more challenging than that. Like they kind of cranked up the difficulty compared to Hades, but they will require fewer playthroughs from you to see the whole thing. We're still unlocking like different secrets, different paths. Like I don't know if I was very clear last week, but like really like initially, like as soon as you come out of your home base, you get a choice between like 2 paths and a secret third one. The entire game is kind of like that. Like there are multiple branches that you can take, and so there is a kind of an achievement system or a reward system in the game where they tell you like, okay, well, try to beat this boss and that boss. There are at least a couple of bosses that we haven't met yet, and so that we haven't even fought, or even less beaten. So all of that is kind of exciting, because even as we will need to get through the entire game at least once more, we still have things on the way to find, and secrets to find. So it's very cool. There are only 4 characters that you can play as, but I'm still kind of always playing as the same dude, the dwarf, who's very kind of gruff and grumpy and pretty funny. But in this game's boons that you can get, they call them rituals in this game, but they work like the boons in Hades. They do change up the way that you're going to play through the game quite a lot. And one of my favorite builds so far was I just kept increasing my character's impact, which basically eventually makes it so that you can more quickly start juggling the characters. You're just wailing on them, and usually they've got their feet firmly planted on the ground for a while before you can start lifting them up and start juggling them. But so it took less time for my character to do that. In fact, like for certain bosses, even like it did that almost immediately. I just like punched them once, and all of a sudden they're up in the air and kind of helpless, and you just keep building up the kind of the pressure on them, and then once they escape from your reach, they would just go bouncing on the left side of the screen and the right side of the screen and just like back and forth and like hitting enemies as they bounced around. And that was very chaotic, but it was a lot of fun. That is one thing that like is kind of cool about this game, but also kind of frustrating. There are a lot of enemies when you're playing 2 players. I don't know if it's less bad when you're playing solo, but like the screen gets filled up with enemies very quickly and completely, and so it can be tough to. I've tried to play like more to build my characters to be more like avoidance focused, or kind of like or counter focused, because those are 2 different things. You can decide to increase to have certain effects that are gonna come into effect when you use your strong attack against an enemy just as they're gonna hit you, or you can have like you can try to dodge into them to build up some other kind of thing, but like those are both very timing based, and usually like they work when you're focused on the one enemy that you're facing. But the game, you get overwhelmed so quickly and so completely that it's like, I can't really pull it off. It's a little bit too it's a little bit too difficult. This is not a final fight type of game where like, okay, like you've got 3 enemies around you. You just want to make sure that you don't have one behind you. So you just kind of go up and down and whatever, and you kind of maneuver to have them all 3 in front of you. Like in this game, it's kind of impossible. They're going to be coming from left and right and above, and they're going to teleport in the middle of the place and overwhelm you. So yeah, again, because of that, I really enjoyed my build that just made giant bosses just bounce around the screen. So really enjoying it. I feel like all the kind of like the technical gameplay of Streets of Rage 4 is here. So if you enjoyed that in Streets of Rage 4, like I think you're gonna enjoy this game. And it feels like it's gonna have a lot of replay, especially since just today .mu announced that they were coming up with a 1.1 version, and so they're gonna offer like more granular difficulty options. And so if you beat the game and you want to make it even tougher on yourself, like you're going to be able to adjust very precisely like a ton of different parameters. And they're also going to give you a few more tools to get through the game as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And I get the feeling that, probably I'm not going to play it 400 hours or whatever it was. I think, no, maybe 200 hours that I played Streets of Rage 4 with Karen. But it's probably just because we're not in another confinement because of the pandemic. If there were a pandemic right now that forces us to be home and to take out some aggression, like probably Absolum would rival Streets of Rage 4 in terms of playtime. So a really good game, and highly recommended for anyone who likes Hades, who likes Streets of Rage 4, or who just wants to find like a kind of a fun co-op game to play with someone else on the same couch or online, because it's got online. So
that's cool. You did mention Hades. I believe Hades 2 is on sale right now on Switch or Switch 2.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I'll have to play that also as well, but right now I'm busy with a slightly different flavor of that type of thing.
Yeah, the sale that dropped today is pretty robust. Not that I'm using Nintendo's own website to browse it, because even now, fucking impossible. Greg, did you say you had some things you could touch on?
Yeah, not a great deal. Obviously, again, making progress on putting time in with Soul Calibur 2. Messed around a little bit with Wario World that went up, of course. I guess the one thing that was I mean, you already spoke about the game, and there's not terribly much to say because it's quite slight. Both in length.
It really
and,
is. I've played a little bit more. It really
depth,
is.
You know, it is. You know, it is what it is. But what we hadn't talked about is that was actually off the map as an announcement. You know, there were a number of GameCube games announced as coming over, you know, the first kind of year or so, whatever it was going to end up being. We thought, given more than a month never seemed that likely, you know, from the GameCube sort of the expansion pack or whatever for Switch 2. But yeah, it's kind of that was not one of the ones that was announced. We've still got some that were announced that haven't come out yet, like the Pokemon, you know, kind of is it both Pokemon kind of, or is it just Colosseum? I forget, but and then Gale of Darkness, and then you've got Fire Emblem as well that was announced, right? So those presumably will be with us in months to come. And Sunshine, of course, weirdly, you've just felt that was surely a summer release. But no, I guess, you know, maybe they just wanted to leave it away from doing Galaxy and Galaxy 2 as a retail product or whatever. So a little bit strange there. Yeah. And then, of course, N64 wise, there was Rayman 2. And Tonic Trouble, I want to say, yes, have come out this week for N64, which again, I've never played Rayman 2, despite Ubisoft's many attempts to get me to play it or some derivative of it over the years of various platforms. So I might mess around with it a bit just to kind of see, you know, how it kind of fits into all those 3D platformers that were on the N64. It's something I missed back then. But it does also substantiate the previous kinds of inferences that people were able to draw from, you know, the little trailer that they put up about the expanded functionality of the N64 online app, and the people thought they could see a bunch of covers that were blurred out, and Rayman was one of them, I think. So we've already had Forsaken that kind of substantiated that. Now we've got this. So very, very likely that N64, Smash Brothers and DK64 are on the way eventually. And as much as you could say it's kind of rendered obsolete by all the subsequent Smash Brothers games, I will definitely mess around with N64 Smash Brothers when it does arrive, because it's quite different, you know, because of how early it was. You know, it's quite a lot more simple, but it always had a really kind of just again for that impact, the novelty factor, right? I've always had really good memories of that, and I'll definitely again won't take long to see pretty much everything that's in that game. So yeah, I'm still looking forward to that.
Cool. Yeah,
I'm just.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm just at the end of Metroid Prime 4, so just doing the run to get all the rest of the items. That's where I'm at right now.
Nice. Greg, did you ever get past your 90%?
Oh, I've not really gone back to it. It felt like that could wait till after Soul Calibur. I need to substitute into that. I will, I think, try and get the rest of the items once. So, you know, I've kind of freed up for that.
Cool. Yeah. I probably, like, the things I've heard about Metroid Prime 4 make me like it more than I think some Metroid fans will. So maybe I should get in there and do it. I don't know. I did want to ask, it's come up a little bit, but like, are they still making fucking bosses like they made in the past? Or are they at least calm that shit down a little bit?
How do you mean?
So some of those Metroid Prime bosses can feel excessive, is the word I would use
I would
for
say, imagine duration is one of the first kind of thing. And I mean, I touched on this a little bit last time, but also, and in the past, just like for me, I think the most like, the element of it is not even just outright duration, but it's when you have to have these kinds of phases where it's just like, okay, I'm just kind of dodging, waiting until I can actually do the real damage. You know, there's this window of opportunity, right? And if you sort of if there's this kind of ratio between, time where you're not in the window of opportunity and time that you are, and it's too out of whack, I find then they drag. And I would say, again, just to restate what I said last week, that it's not fundamentally different. It's not some whole new paradigm, but I think it's on the better end of that. That ratio's more in balance than at least my memory of some of the stuff in Prime 2 and 3, because obviously those are the ones that I haven't played more recently.
Prime 2 I remember being vile for it.
Yeah, I mean, Prime 2 has some just stuff that's flat out just busted, and was it the Boost Guardian or whatever? Like it just I don't know how rushed it was or whatever, but some of that balancing stuff was just wrong. It's so much a design thing with just a simple like balancing pass just didn't happen. And I think, in the trilogy, some of that was different, but I'd be interested in what John thinks about that. That you must have played most of the bosses,
right?
I
played most of it. I think it's, there's a couple of bosses where you have that, where you realize, oh, well, I really can't do anything right now, and so I'm just pretty much sitting here waiting for this boss to make itself vulnerable to me. I think my biggest problem with the bosses is that there's a whole lot of, okay, this is probably a boss fight. You go in there, and then you have that first maybe couple of runs where you have no idea what you're doing, and the boss just demolishes you. And then, or it takes you a while to figure out the 3, 4, 5 different things you need to do to make the boss vulnerable, and by that time you're at like 30% health, so you're screwed. And so you pretty much might as well just die and start over again with the knowledge that you just got. And I don't mind that usually, but in this case, I got frustrated. It's like, oh, okay, well, I do this that way, but of course now I'm practically dead, so I'm just going to have to do this all over again. But most bosses, I took them out first time through. But there's a couple of them like that, then there's a couple of them where it took me 5, 6, 7 times to do it, and I'm like, finally, okay, cool. Finally, I'm done. So I would have liked to have been maybe some of the easy bosses to be a bit harder and some of the harder bosses to maybe be a bit easier. So it was just kind of more in the middle. And I mean, I'm playing it on normal. I'm not playing it on hard or anything. So
right. Cool. All right. Well, so we were going to make this episode a little bit shorter because we were going to record the Soul Calibur 2 retroactive. We're going to punt that, not super far. We're going to punt that to record a different day. Just let us get a little bit more time with it. I was wondering, gentlemen, if we did I think it was Smash Ultimate. We did the episode while we were playing it. I wonder, like, against each other. I wonder if we want to try that. That could be distracting and stupid, but kind of fun anyway.
Yeah.
But like, I spent a bunch of time. I completed Weapon Master Mode, even though I said I wouldn't. Takes forever.
It takes forever. It's not at all a slog.
No, it's especially the dungeons. The dungeons are the best part.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've completed the arcade mode with 6 of the characters. I haven't quite unlocked Lizard Man, because unlocking Lizard Man isn't just clear Weapon Master Mode, it's clear Weapon Master Mode again. Why? Why the fuck is he so hard to... And you can't even use him in the arcade mode, so like, get fucked, I guess. So working through that stuff. But yeah, we're gonna take a couple more days to play it. We're gonna record it. That episode will come out in early January. But that means we are about to wrap up for 2025. As always, thank all of you for listening, and thank you 3 gentlemen for putting up with this show every week, and Guillaume for editing it, and John for being the butt of every joke that I possibly can unleash over the course of a year, and promise to keep doing next year.
Takes the thick skin. But, you know.
It takes a thick skin and bad purchasing decisions.
Yeah, hey, you know, James, like I always say, don't stand next to the fire if you're not afraid to get burnt, you know what I mean?
There's a new... Sure.
There's the double negative there is messing me up.
Don't stand next to the
It's right
fire.
up there with iron sharpens steel.
You know,
that one gave me an aneurysm.
Iron sharpens steel, James. Don't forget that.
No, it doesn't. It explicitly does not, actually. It's one of the many things it cannot do. So you know your Xbox refrigerator.
Yeah. Yep.
I
hugged it just last night. Yep. I hug it every night before I go to sleep.
I like to imagine John sleeps in bed with the Xbox cooler. So
probably creates a nice little white noise to fall asleep to.
It's great in the summer. Keeps things cool, you know?
No, it doesn't. That's the problem. All right. But anyway, where I was going with this, I meant to send you a picture of it, but I forgot. Mm-hmm. Target no longer has any of them in stock. Somehow they managed to unleash the last Xbox fridge, who may have been there for 3 years.
The last Xbox fridge is in captivity.
Someone's captivity. So
Target is at peace.
Well, they've replaced it. John, they've replaced it with a Fallout fridge.
Wow.
It's the exact same shape.
That's too far for me. If it was a PlayStation fridge, we'd probably have a problem.
But keep in mind, this is another Microsoft product now.
Yeah, man.
Microsoft just keeps making these fucking fridges.
Well, it's perfect for the Xbox bowl. You can just... There you go. That's where you keep your beer.
That's right. That's where you keep your beer. That's already cold before you put it in there. Yep. Keep in mind. Yep. It's got to be cold first. So you already have to have a fridge.
They had to remove the movie store on Xbox so they could keep building these fucking fridges.
Yeah.
Priorities.
Yeah, well, I agree. That's what needed to happen.
Yep.
It's just they're like, all right, we got a budget to re-up our movie license or a budget to make a new Fallout fridge. What do we spend it on?
Yep.
And these fuckers are like, why do you even ask? You know what the answer? John, look at this piece of shit. Look, it's the exact same. You can tell it's the exact same fridge.
Yeah.
Just cut the little plasticky bits off, and you're like, that's the same fucking fridge. You made the same fucking fridge. What are you doing? I saw this and I thought of you. And then I thought,
how depressing.
I felt like you needed to know.
Oh, man. So much said just in one sentence.
Better living through vending, a thermoelectric cooler that celebrates the video game franchise Fallout. Pick up this retro-futuristic Fallout. There's something retro-futuristic about this. Vending machine fridge, thermoelectric cooler, which it can't be both, to level up your personal space. The ultimate in pre-war convenience, this refrigerated model has exceptional storage capacity for all sorts of tasty inventory, but you gotta stock it first. Whether you tend more towards classic Nuka-Cola or Dandy Boy apples, this little baby will keep your dorm room, settlement camp, or vault in drinks and snacks for days, so you never have to step away from your game. Plus, you can hit the road with it since it has both AC and DC power options. It is the perfect... Oh my god, this last sentence. It is the perfect housewarming, wedding, or birthday gift for a fan of the video game series Fallout. If you motherfuckers come to my wedding and give me a fucking Fallout vending machine fridge, we're gonna have a goddamn talk.
Oh man,
it's gonna be a goddamn fucking conversation had. It's gonna be like, you didn't have to bring
John,
anything.
Why did you drive here?
It's like, I didn't even tell you this was happening.
Oh, just had to get something across the border, James. No worries.
So I had to smuggle this fridge.
I guess the futuristic part of it is that it's all busted and already pre-busted, and the retro part is that it kind of looks like a 50s fridge, except that if it were truly retro, it would, you could go inside and lock yourself in and die, I guess.
And
but this looks too safe to be retro.
That's true.
Yeah.
I saw this and went, you fucking assholes. I was like, we finally got rid of the Xbox fridge, but no, it's here. Also, there is apparently an Xbox toaster. It's a real thing. I've seen it with my own eyes now, and that is depressing. But this was worse. This was like, Microsoft, stop making thermoelectric coolers. I'm begging you. Stop sponsoring bowl games.
You fucking monsters.
I don't even know if they're going to be in the industry in 5 years, but god damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to grift the whole way out the door.
They'll just be a game publisher in 5 years.
Oh, man.
It's pretty much all they are now.
Kinda, yeah. All right, well, that is going to do it for us in 2025. Greg, I believe you have some music for us?
Well, actually, Guillaume suggested something that I think it's got. I don't know. I think it's going to be quite appropriate for a sort of more poignant feel for an end of year scenario. But Guillaume, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I guess I hadn't been thinking about that when I chose it. I just heard it in my game and thought it sounded nice. But so remember when I said that Absolum, the developers, looked at Hades and were like, "Oh, we want to do one of those." They really copied all parts of the assignment, and so there's kind of this at least one moment that's pretty striking in Hades where basically there's like a musical number in there, or at least a song. So I did not expect that, but Absolum does have a song. And it's basically like this kind of cute little, at the end of this cute little mission where you're in Yeldrim, this kind of devastated kingdom that supposedly used to be, bountiful and, very pretty and everything, and people were happy. But it's just this devastated hellscape now, and that's where you find a lot of skeletons to fight, lots of also kind of eldritch horrors. Like it's been fucked up, but like there's this mission where you dig up, you find I think a harp, and then like you have as a mission to go find a grave of this famous bard, which you do, and then the bard is a skeleton, and they go on and on about how Yeldrim, like I haven't seen it since I died, basically, thousands of years ago. I bet it's as pretty. Okay, well maybe it's not as pretty as I remembered, but anyway, let's go and visit it. I want to see it, so. They see it, like it's an escort mission. It's not too grueling or annoying, but you do have to keep them safe. It's just for a few screens, and then, so you get them to see an expansive view of the place, and then they pop out the song that we're about to hear, and it's quite this little nice little moment in the game, which I did not expect, and it's pretty unusual in a brawler, and I just find the tune quite nice. It explains the fall of Yeldrin, and the bard himself is pretty funny looking, just kind of like skipping around as you're getting them from to where they need to go. Everything about the presentation in this game is pretty much top notch. Enjoy this song about this devastated kingdom.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Fuck. Bye, everybody.
Later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Pilgrims ride the black waves, hoping for a fine grave, a song for a feeling. Business was flourishing, lyrics to remember. Dying gets easier. A hollow shell was my heart before it blew apart. Yeldrim, Yeldrim, city of free living. You lived like a sinner, you'll die like a king. Yeldrim, Yeldrim, city of free living. You lived like a sinner, you'll die like a king. I heard children screaming, I heard the bells ringing. There was a great din and all, everything scrambled. It's all gone downhill, but I'm here for the thrill. The dead can dance till the dawn, now the living are gone. Yeldrim, Yeldrim, city Yeldrim, Yeldrim.